really commit their arm, but they give the illusion of actually blocking your head. So in these sort of scenarios, I'm going to look to go underneath the arm, okay, and then force them to really commit their arm again once I'm close to range to their leg, and now I can start to attack the arm. Other versions of this would be, if I go for the leg, my partner posts his hand on the floor, so not like next to my head, so like not a strong block, right? Not like I can't duck under this, but then they sprawl their free leg back. This one. Yeah, exactly, yeah. So in this scenario as well, it's still going to be difficult for your partner to remove their arm from the floor, right? Because their leg is so far back. So they need that leg close to them for like the base necessary to remove that arm, okay? So yeah, if this leg's far away, it's harder for him, like sprawl it all the way back. It's harder for him to lift this arm like off the floor without face planting, right? So that's kind of what we're aiming for. Otherwise, if you go back in, so if he keeps that knee in tight, but he hugs my head like solidly, okay? Now the problem is that he can't extract the arm quick enough because I've got his whole shoulder, all right? The times I wouldn't go for the arm is if the knee is close, but the arm is posted like this. Like, for example, here, right? If I go for this arm, chances are he's just going to turn his thumb up to the ceiling and extract the arm really easily. So you need one of those two options, right? You either need the leg really far back, or you need them to be grabbing your head properly, right? Where I can get the shoulder and my knee out, okay? And then it's going to be more difficult for your partner to escape. So position we're trying to end up in, basically, is any position where your right knee is on the outside of their hip, and my right arm, has some sort of connection to their arm. So ideally above the shoulder line, okay, or if their leg is really far back, yeah, then I can go with the elbow, okay? Alright, cool. So we're going to be looking at just like a couple ways to get the arm settle or some sort of attack on that arm, depending on what our partner does, right? So you're always going to adjust your move based on how your partner reacts. Sometimes you need to like cycle through your moves a couple times to actually determine which is the correct one for your partner, right? Depending how they react. So we're going to be here again. My partner's engaging this time. Again, if you're not engaging, you're kicking on the shoulder, you're doing all the stuff from previously. So they're leaning in, right? And your knee shield is taking weight for the most part. I'm going to cross shoulder post, and I'm just going to look to underhook this leg. So literally, just start to scoot your head in close to the leg, and it's going to force your partner to either, like we said before, clasp your head really tight, okay, or to block your head, okay, and try and sprawl this leg back. So if he just blocks my head and doesn't sprawl his leg back, I'm going to go for a lat grip, and I'm going to try to duck my head under and continue attacking the leg. Okay, but for now, my partner's going to sprawl his leg back as well. Okay, and it's going to make it difficult when I go to duck under. There's not really space, right? So what I'm going to do is switch to either, if my partner's really low, I'm going to try and get all the way above their shoulder. For the most part, they're going to post in such a way that I can only really reach just below their delt, and it's not going to be good enough. You can try and go for like a head and arm controlling their head as well to break the posture. But I find it more difficult to work than instantly just going for this elbow. So I'm going to try and reach as high up as possible, and you can imagine there's going to be some slippage, right? As soon as I get the scoop grip on my arm, so make sure when you're doing this, we're not cupping with our hands here, because it's going to be too easy for my partner to turn their elbow down and extract the arm. So I want to basically be turning this arm up and around in this direction the whole time. So I have like downward pressure on the elbow, so it's hard for my partner to just lift themselves up. So I've gone for the leg, I've just lost the grip and it's gone out of range. I'm going to switch, okay, and try and get the crook of your elbow, like make sure there's no daylight basically between the crook of your elbow and the tricep. Now I need to get my right knee onto my partner's hip. Super important whenever you're attacking this arm that you have that right knee as a frame, right? If I just go for this arm and he covers my knee, now I'm getting cross-faced, the left leg is getting past. So you need to make sure when you're here, I've got the leg out of the way, okay, I've kept my shoulder post in just in case, and I switch to this arm grip. Now I'm going to bring my right knee against my partner's hip. So if he's good, right, they tend to drive in towards you to try and get their elbow out, okay? If they just pull away, this actually makes it easier for you to get a really tight grip on the elbow. So for the most part, every time I go for this scoop, they bring their leg back, I go for the arm. Guys are going to try and clear that knee, right, and get the crossface. So I block the hip with my knee, and because I don't have the shoulder, right, the shoulder crunch isn't really available in this scenario, I'm going to use like a shrink basically to get my hips out far to this side so I can start to pressure the arm bar. So you might have had a shoulder post, you switch to the arm. I'm going to control wrist to wrist grip and turn my hips all the way to the opposite direction. Now I'm going to post my right toe on my partner's thigh and pinch my knees together. I want my knees either side of one head and shoulder, right? So I'm going to be here with the elbow, my ear pinched on my partner's hand, okay? And then my elbow grip pulling down towards my chest. If you bridge here, right, very common problem that I see, if you bridge, you're going to lose the wrist, okay? You basically won't get the finish in your partner. My left leg here, by the way, guys, just keep it on your partner start again, right? So it's going to be harder for your partner to drive in and then go back to a shoulder crunch once you've already started attacking the armbar. So I have my elbow forward, my partner's elbow. You can go elbow to elbow grip when you finish, right? So as you initially pull your partner's arm across, a wrist to wrist grip is fine, but at some point your left elbow is going to run out of range and hit the mat. At this point, I'm just going to switch to an elbow to elbow grip. Now to finish, scoot your hips all the way out as far as possible, and then start to pull your elbow down in towards your chest to get the finish. Okay, so it's the opposite of a normal armbar where you're bridging. You're doing a shrimp, like pulling in with your hands in the space that you create. Let's actually face the other way. So we're going to be here, cross shoulder pose, okay, good knee position, and he's leaning in. I go for the grip, he sprawls and blocks, I go back to the elbow. As soon as I get to the elbow, I need to bring my knee in front of my partner's hip, okay? So you can use your right toe there on his foot, okay, to help you with the reverse shrimp, to bring your knee in tight. Now I'm going to continue scooting myself away, right? With regards to what your feet are doing, you need to make sure that your feet are like on the hips realistically. If you keep your feet to the inside, they're going to start to stand up at any point throughout this, exactly, and you've lost the position. To prevent them standing up or walking in towards you, you need the foot on the hip. Right, my right foot's going to go on the hip second. Start to scoot your hips away, transition from a wrist to wrist grip where your elbow is in contact. And as you're turning him over, my left elbow hits the floor. I continue going to a elbow to elbow grip. Now pinch your ear to your shoulder, and here you just want to scoot away, right? You should be able to finish this like just by basically pushing with your hand to get the finish. Right? If you're trying really hard, it means that you haven't got the technique right. Okay. Most common problems I see, people pulling like this with their hand where your partner can just turn their hand. Okay, so I want to use the friction of my elbow on his elbow to roll his elbow over the top. Okay, and then it's harder when your partner tries to turn to face you and pull their thumb out. It's much more difficult. Another thing is pinching your ear to your shoulder, right? It's just like it makes a pretty big difference when you actually manage to pinch your partner's ear to your shoulder throughout the whole move. If at any point this arm slips and he turns his thumb up, you still have options, right? You can still follow up and attack your partner, but it's going to be like much of a longer scramble than just getting an instant finish for something as small as like pinching your ear super tight to your shoulder. Alright guys, so we're going to be dealing with a very similar scenario. This time my partner's committing more his like head and shoulders to try and prevent you from getting to the leg rather than a sprawling and like posting method. So I'm going to be here, shoulder pose, and go for the leg. And again, when I'm going for the leg, right, I'm not really too concerned about them trying to get an initial crossface, right? If I had a gi,